Okay, in this PowerPoint, I'm going to briefly walk you through the nutrition therapy process, explain a little bit about what it is and what it all entails, and also talk about how it can be supportive in healing chronic illness. So nutrition therapy really looks at foundations of health. The first one, pretty straightforward, is getting back to a properly prepared whole foods diet. So really taking a look at what the client is eating and trying to, over a series of positive steps, first and foremost, educate them on what a whole foods diet is. And a lot of times this involves proper food preparation, but really starting to get them eating foods in their real form as our bodies are meant to obtain our nutrition. Second is proper digestion and just generally speaking proper functioning of the digestive organs. And this is sometimes a piece I find that other approaches miss, where a client, for example, could be eating the healthiest diet in the world, but if there's a weakness at some point in the digestive system, for example, the gallbladder isn't releasing good, healthy bile to break down the fat that they're consuming, they could continue to be challenged in assimilating the vitamins and nutrients they need from the fat in order to build hormones and other important building blocks in the body. So sometimes not only does the diet need a little bit of work, but the digestive system also might need a little bit of supplementation and support to get on a stronger track. Next is blood sugar regulation, and this really speaks to the body's ability to manage energy during the day. Right now in the United States, we've got sort of a blood sugar regulation crisis of sorts, and a lot of this has to do with the standard American diet and just what people are eating on the whole. A lot of the people that I've worked with really struggle to get through mornings and afternoons without reaching for either something sugary, starchy, or caffeinated to give them kind of an instant energy spike and get them through that lull. This is definitely not optimal energy regulation, and this issue can be addressed very easily through diet change. Next is adrenal health, and this is also very strongly tied into blood sugar regulation because the adrenal glands help to support energy regulation in the body over the course of the day. They actually support a number of different important functions in the body, and because of that, a lot of times the functions that they are supporting, such as pumping out the hormone cortisol to address fight or flight states that people are experiencing in stressful positions, which a lot of, again, Americans are experiencing on a daily basis, can really start to tax these glands. And so looking at just overall adrenal health can be a really key part of the overall picture as far as helping someone manage a chronic health condition and heal from that condition from a foundational standpoint. Next is the adequate essential fatty acid level in the body. And essential fatty acids are really healthy fats broken down into their smallest form. And it's really important to have specifically these key nutrients in the body. They perform a number of really important functions. They form our cell membranes. They are a source of steady, long-burning energy over the course of the day. They are the building blocks for our hormones and help to support proper healthy hormone functioning in the body. They also help to upregulate and downregulate inflammation. So that's just sort of a little bit of what they do, but without having enough fatty acid in the body, a lot of those different functions I just mentioned can really be impacted in a negative way. And then finally, we like to look at mineral balance, and minerals are kind of like the body's catalysts. They help with cell-to-cell communication. They help the body maintain and regulate proper water amounts. They help with proper muscle contraction and release. They are key components in lots of the fluids, including some of the digestive fluids in the body. So without minerals in adequate amounts, the body really can struggle to perform its functioning optimally. And minerals are something that are very easily depleted by stress and poor diet. So that's something that I really look at when I'm first working with someone from a nutrition therapy standpoint. So what happens during the first appointment? This is a question that I'm asked often by potential clients. And essentially what happens is I send the client 3 key pieces of information. The first form is the one you see here. It's called the initial interview form. And it gives me kind of a snapshot of the client's background, their health history, their primary goals, what they're seeking help with, their dietary habits historically, and even things like just dental health history. So it kind of asks a bunch of information that oftentimes can be really relevant to what we work with over the appointments that they come to see me. The second piece of information is the food journal. And in my case, I like to have clients do a 6-day food journal where they're literally writing down everything they eat and drink and the quantities of the beverages especially that they're taking in. And then if they can, tracking mood and digestive changes. And this is actually really, really good information that ties almost always critically into a lot of the symptoms they're experiencing and the main health concern they're seeking help on. So what I do is I'll actually take this journal and I'll begin to educate the client on what they're eating and tying that back into how they're feeling. So this can really be a very enlightening piece of the nutrition therapy process and a great educational tool. And the third piece of information is called the Nutrition Assessment Questionnaire, or the NAQ. And this is something the client does at their computer on their own time. It takes about 20 minutes. They do it online, and then this information is sent to me and generates a bunch of different reports that I can look at just at a glance what's going on. This particular thing here is called the Symptom Burden Analysis Graph, and you can see across the top different categories. And essentially what happens is the information from the NAQ is broken down into different functional areas, everything from digestion to mineral needs to essential fatty acids, sugar handling, and so on. And this gives me sort of just a general picture of what the client is reporting is going on in terms of level of priority for where to start working with this client. And the foundations are listed in order of priority, left to right, always starting with digestion. So this kind of just helps me get a sense of what's going on. I will oftentimes show the client this information when they first come in to meet with me and tie it again back to how they're feeling and kind of what is seeming to need the most focus just starting out. And so when the client comes in, I go through those first 3 pieces of information, and then in addition what I do is a hands-on evaluation called the functional evaluation. And this shows the form I used, the front part of the form that I use, which is a hands-on assessment of different palpation points or different reflex points on the body. And these points are based on the work of different chiropractors and osteopaths who basically were able to go through and correlate different reflex points with organ functioning. And so essentially by palpating these points, I get a sense based on the client's tenderness as to whether or not there might be a functional weakness involved with a particular organ. And this information just either correlates or sometimes brings up new areas that weren't coming through on the interview form and the NAQ and the just the food journal that may or may not be relevant to the whole picture. A lot of times, though, this really does confirm what the NAQ and the food journal and the interview form are kind of showing me as far as the picture of what's going on with this person. So this process takes about, I would say, a good 20 to 30 minutes to go through the functional evaluation piece. And then really what I'm looking to do here is answer 3 fundamental questions. I want to find out if there's a functional deficiency with the client, which is indicative of the tenderness of the points that I'm evaluating. And then I also want to try to figure out what particular nutrient will work for that client. And this gets into the lingual neural testing, which I'll talk about in just a second. And the third piece I'm trying to figure out is, when is this client sufficient? And this question is best answered after I've begun working with the client and they've come in and we've gotten a few weeks under our belts and they've started to make some of the changes, and I can actually go back to their body and repalpate those points to see if they've gotten less tender. And that really does kind of become the measure for how are things improving or how are things moving forward. So with regards to the particular nutrient that the client needs, that I try to establish through a process called lingual neural testing. And it's based on the ability that our body has to, via the nervous system, pick up information from the taste buds and give feedback immediately on whether or not a specific nutrient is going to be helpful or not helpful for the body. And so this work, again, is kind of based on the work of different chiropractors and osteopaths, and works directly with putting the supplement that I want to test against the specific organ on the client's tongue, letting the nervous system kind of register that taste, and then repalpating a point. And a lot of times when the supplement is going to be helpful to the client, there's a dramatic decrease in the tenderness, at least a half of a number. So if the client's rating a particular point at an 8, it'll usually drop to a 4, sometimes even more, down to like a 2, a 1, or even a 0. So that always to me is really indicative that this is a nutrient that's going to work really well for the client and help them get back on track as far as feeling better. And I also have a demo video that if you click on the nutrition therapy portion of my website, it will be listed there, and it'll show me going through a hands-on LNT testing process, as well as an additional video that shows the functional evaluation process. So I hope that this video has been helpful in giving you some information about nutrition therapy and helping you decide whether or not this would be a helpful process for you in going through your healing journey. Thank you.